in the dusty sprawl of Fairview, Indiana, where cornfields claw at the horizon and Friday night football is a religion. I, Tyler Grayson, rule the roost. 17, buzz cut sharp, shoulders broad from hauling tackles. I'm the quarterback king of Fairview High. Cheers echo my name under the bleachers. Jocks slap my back in the halls, and the town's old men nod like I'm their golden boy. It's October, crisp and cold, leaves crunching under my sneakers, when I spot it. A sketch fluttering from Ethan Parker's backpack like a confession begging to be caught. Two boys holding hands, soft lines under a willow, spill onto the linoleum in a crowded corridor. Time freezes. My pulse kicks, and I snatch it up, a grin splitting my face. Yo, Parker's a fag, I bellow, hoisting it high, the hall erupting in laughter that crashes like a wave I ride. He scrambles, shaggy hair falling over wide eyes, but I'm already the hero, branding him a freak before he can blink. This is my kingdom built on fists and fear, cemented by the code Dad drilled into me since I could throw a spiral. Men don't bend. The weakness spreads like rot. His voice booms in my skull. A factory worker's growl forged in steel and sermons. Every supper a lecture on keeping Fairview clean of those people. I've heard it since 5th grade, when some kid called me soft for liking comics, and I punched him bloody to prove I wasn't. The sting of that word, soft, clings like damp rot under my ribs. A secret I bury deep. Ethan's different. A quiet sophomore with a pencil and a slouch. A crack in the wall I've got to seal. He's weak, I tell myself. A queer stain on my turf. And I'm the one to scrub it out. The crowd roars, Jake hollers, "Burn it!" And I feel the power surge, my chest swelling as I crumple the sketch in my fist. But a girl, Sarah from homeroom, mutters, "Leave him alone." Her voice a splinter I shrug off. She's nothing. I'm untouchable. Home's a fortress of rules. Dad's steel-toed boots thud the linoleum that night, his grin wide as he claps my shoulder over meatloaf. "Heard you put that Parker kid in his place, good job." Don't let those freaks run loose. His pride's a furnace, warming the cold spot I don't name, the one that flinches when Mom's eyes dart away, her fork scraping the plate. "Don't be too hard, honey," she murmurs, barely audible over the TV's drone. But Dad snorts, "Hard's how you raise a man." I nod, swallowing the unease, the memory of that 5th grade taunt flickering like a ghost. I'm not soft, not like Ethan, not like anyone. I'm the wall Fairview leans on, and Parker's the weed I'll rip out by the roots. School's my stage next day. I strut the halls, sneakers squeaking. The sketch a trophy I flash to my crew. Parker's done. I laugh, and they howl, a pack at my heels. Ethan's a shadow now, head down, sketchbook clutched like a shield. But I see him, see the way he doesn't fight back, and it fuels me. I'm king here. The jock's fists my scepter, the cheerleader's giggles my crown. Coach slaps my back in the locker room. "Gruffing, keep him in line." Grayson, even the janitor smirks as he mops. But Ms. Harper, that artsy teacher with gray streaks, catches my eye in the hall. Her stare cold as October wind. "You're better than this," she says low, and I scoff, brushing past. Better? I'm the best, Fairview's son, Dad's pride, the hammer to Ethan's nail. Still, her words snag, a burr under my skin, and I shove it down, hard. That night, alone in my room, the house creaks quiet, Dad snores rumbling through the walls. I stare at the ceiling, the crumpled sketch on my desk a dark smear in the moonlight. Ethan's eyes flash, scared, silent, and I clench my jaw, fists tight under the quilt. He's nothing, I tell myself. A fag who deserves it. But that old taunt, soft, whispers back. A shiver I can't shake. I'm not him. I'm not weak. I'm Tyler Grayson, and Fairview's mine to rule. If that moment hooked you, hit that like. Share this with someone who's felt the sting of standing out, and subscribe to Heartstories for more journey. Monday hit Fairview High like a freight train, and I, Tyler Grayson, rode it full throttle. Ethan Parker's sketch, those two boys soft under a willow, had lit a fuse, and I was the match. The halls buzzed, a hive of whispers and phones. That drawing now a wildfire scorching every screen. I strutted in, sneakers squeaking on the linoleum. My crew at my heels, Jake, buzz cut tight, and Matt, fists like bricks, grinning as I barked. "Parker's ours today." He was a ghost slinking by the lockers, shaggy hair a curtain over his face, sketchbook clutched tight. I slammed my palm against the steel next to his head, the clang ringing sharp. "Hey, Fairy Boy?" I sneered, snatching his towel from gym class later, tossing it into a puddle of sweat-streaked tile. His eyes flicked up, wide and wet, and I laughed, a blade slicing the air. "What's wrong? Gonna cry to your boyfriend?" The locker room roared, my kingdom bowing to the king. It didn't stop there. After gym, I rallied the pack, 3 of us cornering him by the steel lockers. "Let's see how he likes this," I grunted, grabbing his arms, meaty hands pinning him as Matt shoved him inside. The door banged shut, his knees hitting the cramped dark, sketchbook tumbling to the floor. I clicked the lock, his fists pounding a dull thud, a muffled yell seeping through. "Stay in there, queer," I shouted. My crew's laughter a muffled roar outside. My chest swelled, power surging as I leaned against the metal. Their cheers a crown I wore. Coach pried it open 10 minutes later. Gruff but indifferent. "What's going on?" Letting us scatter with smirks. Ethan stumbled out, pale, breathing fast, and I smirked wider. He was nothing, less than nothing, and I was everything. The week turned brutal. I scrawled "Ethan's a queer" in black marker across his locker, jagged and bold, the Snickers bouncing off the cinderblock walls like bullets. In the quad, I ripped pages from his books, letting them flutter like confetti, my boys howling as he scrambled on his knees. Lunch was my stage. Ketchup packets pelted his back, a chorus of freak ringing as he sat alone. Tray untouched. Jake egged me on. "More. He's gotta learn." And I did. Every hit a brick in my wall. Dad's voice roared in my skull over supper that night. Steel-toed boots pacing the linoleum. "Good work. Ty, keep Fairview clean. Those people don't belong." His grin was a medal, his factory-hard hand clapping my shoulder, drowning the flicker of Mom's quiet plea. "Don't go too far, honey." Her eyes dodged mine, her dish rag twisting, but I shrugged it off.
"Far?"
This was justice. Dad said so. Fairview said so. I said so. But cracks crept in, slow and sharp. Wednesday. Ms. Harper cornered me in the hall, her gray-streaked hair wild, her voice low as a blade. "You're breaking him. Tyler, and for what?" I froze, her stare drilling holes, but I scoffed. "He's the problem, not me." She shook her head, walking off, and that burr dug deeper. Better than this? I was the best. Damn it. Still? Her words stuck, a splinter I couldn't pluck. Then Thursday. In the locker room, Jake hesitated, his laugh fading as we planned the next hit. "You sure?" He's not fighting back, kinda weird. I glared, shoving him hard. "What? You soft now?" "He deserves it." Jake backed off, nodding quick, but his eyes flickered, uncertain. Matt jumped in. "Nah, Ty's right, fags don't get a pass." And the plan rolled on. But that flicker, Jake's pause, gnawed at me, a thread pulling loose. Home turned jagged too. Friday night, Mom caught me at the sink, her voice a whisper over the faucet's hum. "I saw him today. Ty Ethan. He looked scared." "This isn't you." Her hands trembled, her eyes wet, and I snapped. "You don't get it. Dad says he's trash." She flinched, stepping back, her "I'm scared of what you're becoming" hitting like a slap. Dad stormed in, boots thumping, cutting her off. "Enough. Linda, he's a man, not some bleeding heart. Keep it up." His growl drowned her, but her words sank in, a cold weight I shoved down. I wasn't scared, I wasn't soft. I was Fairview's hammer, and Ethan was the nail. Saturday. Alone in my room, the house creaked still. Dad's snores a rumble, Mom's silence a void. I stared at the ceiling, the locker's thud echoing in my skull. Ethan's fists, his ragged breath. I saw his eyes again. Not just scared, but something else. Quiet? Steady? Like he was waiting. My fists clenched under the quilt. That old taunt soft, crawling back. A shiver I couldn't shake. I'd locked him in, torn his world, and Fairview cheered, except Jake, except Mom, except Harper. I rolled over, punching the pillow, telling myself he deserved it. He was weak. He was wrong. But the crack was there. A hairline split in my crown, and I couldn't unsee it. Winter bit hard into Fairview, Indiana, the December sky heavy with snow. But I, Tyler Grayson, felt the cold deeper than the frost creeping up my window. Ethan Parker had vanished after I locked him in that steel tomb. Days of silence. His sneakers no longer scuffing the linoleum. His sketchbook gone from sight. I'd won, I told myself, strutting the halls, my crew's laughter a shield against the quiet. Fairview High was mine again. The jock's fists my law. The graffiti, Ethan's a queer, still glaring red on the wall. A trophy of my reign. Dad clapped my back over supper. His steel-toed boots thudding proud. You showed 'em. Tice kept our town strong. His grin was a furnace, stoking my fire. But Mom's eyes stayed on her plate. Her fork scraping a rhythm of unease I ignored. I was king, untouchable, unbreakable, until Ethan came back. Monday dawned gray, the double doors banging open, and there he was, Parker. No hoodie now, just a flannel shirt and that damn sketchbook bold in his grip. The halls buzzed, a hive stirring, but not for me. He walked different, taller, eyes steady, and I felt the shift. A crack in my throne. Lunch hit, and he climbed a bench in the courtyard, snow crunching under his boots, his voice cutting the wind. This is me, not a freak, not a sin, just a kid who draws what he feels. My crew flanked me, smirking, but the air thickened as he unrolled a canvas, jagged lines of lockers, fists, a boy under a willow glowing faint. You've hit me, locked me up, why? 'Cause I'm gay. That's on you, his words slashed, raw and fierce, and the quad rippled, girls nodding, a jock clapping slow, uncertain. Rage boiled up, my fist clenching a snowball. Shut up. Queer, I roared, hurling it hard. The thud wet against his chest. Jake laughed. Matt jeered. But Mia, wiry, paint-stained, shot up, blocking him. You're the weak one. Tyler, her shout echoed, a blade I couldn't dodge. And the crowd split, half jeering, half silent, watching me. That night, home cracked wide. Mom's voice trembled over the sink, her hands wringing a rag. I saw him today. Tie that speech. He's braver than you. Her eyes burned, wet and sharp, and I snapped. He's trash, Dad says so. She shook her head, her whisper a bomb. I'm leaving if you keep this up. I don't know you anymore. The door slammed, her coat gone, a note on the counter. You're not my son like this. Dad stormed in, his roar shaking the walls. She's weak, let her go. You're a man. Don't buckle. His fist slammed the table. But her absence hollowed me, a cold I couldn't shake. I fled to my room, the quilt damp with sweat, her words clawing. Braver than me? No, I was strong. I was right. But the mirror showed a stranger, eyes wild, fists bruised from punching the wall to drown her voice. Tuesday. The cracks spread. Jake caught me by the lockers. His buzz cut shadowed under the flicker. Ty, I'm out. Beating on him ain't fun no more. He's not even fighting. His voice wavered, his back turning, and I shoved him hard. You're soft, go cry with him then. He walked off, Matt stepping up. Screw him. Ty, we got this. But the pack thinned, their laughs hollow. Ms. Harper passed, her gray streaks glinting. Her you're losing. Tyler a hiss that stung. Losing? I was king, Fairview's hammer, but the halls felt tighter. Eyes dodging mine, whispers shifting from cheers to murmurs. I punched a locker, the clang ringing, telling myself it was them. Not me, they were weak. Not me. Friday night, alone. The house groaned empty, Mom gone, Dad at the mill. His don't let him win a growl in my skull. I sat on my bed, the snowball's wet thud replaying, Ethan's voice slicing through. That's on you. I saw him in that locker, fists pounding. Breath ragged, not weak. Waiting. My chest tightened. That old taunt, soft, crawling up. A shiver I couldn't punch away. Mom's note burned in my pocket. Jake's back a ghost in the hall. And I wondered, first time ever, if I'd misread the game. I'd branded him a freak. But the crowd's claps. Mia's shout. His steady eyes. They weren't breaking. I was. The wall shook as I hit it again. Blood smearing my knuckles. But the crack inside widened. A fault line I couldn't seal. January thawed Fairview, Indiana, into muddy slush. But the chill in my bones ran deeper than the damp seeping through my sneakers. Tyler Grayson, had ruled this town. Quarterback king. Fairview's iron fist, but the crown was slipping. And I couldn't claw it back. Ethan Parker's return had cracked my throne. His courtyard stand a splinter I couldn't pull. Monday after his speech, I strutted into school, buzz cut high, expecting the halls to bow. They didn't. Whispers slithered past, girls eyeing me cold, jocks dodging my gaze. The linoleum a stage I no longer owned. Then I saw it through the art room window. Ethan, sketchbook open, surrounded by kids, Mia, Josh, some linebacker I'd once called mine, laughing, drawing, a circle I wasn't in. My crew shrank to Matt. His "we still got this." Ty, a hollow echo as Jake's absence gnawed. I punched a locker, the clang a weak roar, but the kingdom was fading. Tuesday, the axe fell. Principal Hayes hauled me into his office. His tie tight, his voice ice. "You've gone too far." Grayson, locker. Graffiti, fights. "You're suspended. 1 month. Parents are screaming. News is sniffing. Clean up your act at home." I gaped, fists clenching. Parker started it. "He's the freak." Hayes leaned in. Gray eyes hard. "You made the mess." Out. The door slammed. My sneakers scuffing the hall as Matt muttered, "Bullshit." But his steps lagged behind. Outside, cameras flashed. Local news vans. A mic shoved in my face. "Tyler, why'd you target him?" I shoved past. Jaw tight. But the headline burned later. Fairview bully suspended. Art kid rises. My phone buzzed. Dad's growl over the line. "You let him win?" Ty made me look like a fool at the mill. His words hit like steel. My chest caving as he hung up. No clap on the back. Just silence. Home was a war zone. Dad stormed in that night. Boots thumping. Suspension note crumpled in his fist. "You're a disgrace, my kid." Folding to that queer and his crayons. His roar shook the kitchen. Mom's empty chair a ghost between us. She'd been gone since last week. Her note a scar I couldn't read again. I yelled back. "I was keeping it clean, you said so." He jabbed a finger. Face red. "You lost." Ty, not tough enough. "Fix this or you're nothing here." His boots thudded out. The door banging, leaving me with the hum of the fridge and a void I couldn't fill. I sank to the linoleum, fists bruised from punching air. His not tough enough, a blade twisting deep, Dad's king, turning on me, the son who'd failed his code. Wednesday's school board meeting was a crucible. The gym swelled, parents, kids, reporters, chairs scraping, voices clashing like thunder. I slunk in, hoodie up, Matt at my side, but the air was thick with eyes. Ethan stood on stage, flannel bold, his crew behind him, Mia glaring my way, her paint-stained hands clenched. Hayes took the mic. "We're addressing this." Drowned by shouts. Dad leapt up, his mill jacket tight. "My boy protected Fairview's values. Suspend that Parker freak instead." A mom in a scarf snapped back. "Your son's a bully. My girl's scared to come here." The room split, half cheering Dad, half booing. A deacon barking, "Sin's the issue," while Mia's mom roared, "Fairness is." I stood frozen, their war raging. My name a curse on both sides. Ethan stepped forward. "No mic, just him. I'm not the problem. You made me one." His voice cut, steady, and I saw it, his strength. Not mine. Holding the gym. Friday. The news ran it, Fairview divided, bullies out, art club in. Hayes caved, me, Matt, and another jock. 1 month each. No appeal. Dad's truck peeled out that morning. His "you're on your own" a growl through the window. cutting ties like I'd cut Ethan's world. I walked the quad alone, snow melting into mud, passing the art room's glow. Ethan's voice leading, kids sketching, a mural of hands and trees blooming on the wall. My crew was gone. Matt texting, "Can't hang. Tie too hot." I kicked a can, its clang lost in their laughter, and saw him through the glass. Parker, not breaking, building. I'd branded him weak, but he stood taller, while I shrank, a king dethroned by a kid with a pencil. Night fell, and I sat on my bed. The house a tomb, Dad's snores gone, Mom's note dust-covered on the dresser. I pulled out that crumpled sketch from weeks back. 2 boys under a willow, its ink smudged under my thumb. His eyes flashed, quiet, steady, not the freak I'd named. I'd torn him down, locked him up, but he rose, and I fell. My fist hovered, the paper trembling. And I wanted to write, sorry, something, but I tore it instead, pieces fluttering like ash. I wasn't him, I couldn't bend, but Fairview had turned, and the justice I'd dodged hit hard. A mirror I couldn't face. Spring crept into Fairview. Indiana, the snow melting into muddy patches around the bleachers. But I, Tyler Grayson, felt the thaw nowhere inside. The town I'd ruled, its cornfield stretching endless. Its Friday night cheers, once mine, had turned its back, leaving me a ghost in my own kingdom. Suspension dragged into March, a month of exile that stripped me bare. Fairview High buzzed on without me, the linoleum halls echoing with new voices, the art room's glow spilling through windows I passed in shadow. Ethan Parker's club, those misfits with pencils and paint, grew loud, their laughter a hum I heard from the bleachers where I sat alone. My sneakers scuffing gravel, my buzz cut grown shaggy under a cap pulled low. I'd branded him a freak, torn his world, but he'd risen, while I sank into silence. Home was a hollow shell. Dad hadn't spoken since he peeled out. His truck's rumble a memory, his "you're on your own" a cut that bled dry. Mom called once from her sister's, her voice soft over the line. "There's still time. Ty, come back to me." I grunted, "I'm fine," and hung up. Her "I love you" a whisper I couldn't hold. Her note stayed on the dresser, dust curling its edges. "You're not my son like this." A scar I traced in the dark. The kitchen sat empty. The fridge's hum my only company. Dad's steel-toed boots gone from the rack. Mom's meatloaf a ghost on the stove. I'd punched the wall that night, knuckles raw, telling myself I didn't need them, didn't need anyone. But the quiet pressed, a weight I couldn't shrug off. School faded to whispers. Matt texted once, "Too hot." I'm out, and the pact dissolved. Their fists no longer mine. I walked the quad on my last day before suspension stuck, peering through the art room glass. Ethan stood there, flannel loose, leading a circle, Mia sketching, Josh laughing, a mural of willows and hands sprawling bold on the wall. Kids I'd ruled nodded to him, their eyes sliding past me like I was air. The graffiti I'd scrawled, "Ethan's a queer," faded under paint and time, a mark I couldn't reclaim. I kicked the mud, my chest tight, and saw him look up, not at me, through me, a steady gaze that didn't flinch. I'd locked him in, torn his books, but he built this. While I lost everything, Dad. Mom, the crown I'd worn. Night found me on the bleachers, the field dark, the town's pulse a distant thrum, church bells tolling, trucks rumbling down Main. I pulled that sketch from my pocket. 2 boys under a willow, its ink faded under my thumb. His strength stared back, not fists, not shouts, but something I couldn't name. I'd called it weak, branded it wrong, but it stood while I fell. Mom's "come back" echoed. Dad's "not tough enough" a growl. And I sat there, cap shadowing my eyes, asking what was strong. Punching a kid who wouldn't hit back? Ruling a crowd that turned, or standing when they all pushed? I didn't know, didn't want to, and the silence answered nothing. Matt rolled by once, leaning from his truck. "Forget Parker. Ty, come chill." I waved him off, my voice gone, my back to the art room's hum. Ms. Harper's "you're better" flickered. A teacher's sigh from the hall. Too late for him now. I didn't bully anymore, didn't talk, didn't fight, just sat. A king dethroned? Fairview's sun lost to its own rules. Ethan's pencil had won, not mine, and I was left alone. Not soft, not hard, just nothing. I thought I'd been right. But when they turned, I was the freak, stranded in a town I couldn't rule. This isn't about heroes or villains, it's about what breaks us, what builds us. Was I wrong to brand him? Or was Fairview wrong to brand me? Tell me below, if Tyler's fall hit you hard, smash that like, share with someone who's faced their own fight, and subscribe to Heartstories. We're digging deeper every time.